So I've spent virtually my entire career working in finance, first as an accountant and I'm now a former investment analyst. And one of the things I've noticed when it comes to personal finance is that you see the same mistakes recurring with person after person after person. So in this video we're going to be going through some of the most important ones, some of the ones that are most recurring and how to avoid them. And some of them are ones that you might not expect. I really wanted to take some of the lessons that I learned from investing other people's money and apply them to my own personal finances, rushing into making decisions. Now when it comes to your finance, it can be very easy to see what you think is a good deal and to quite quickly part with your cash. You know, this can be things you want to spend your money on or things you want to invest your money in. Now when it comes to spending your money, I think if it's a big ticket item, a house, a car, you know, even a laptop, a mobile phone, just do the requisite research, make sure you understand what it is you're buying, what it's going to cost you, and to make sure that it really caters for your needs. When it comes to investing, I think one of the key things that you really need to be looking at is making sure that you're still going to have access to your money. You might choose the wrong financial product or service, you might choose the wrong kind of advisor, the wrong kind of financial planner. So by doing the research and taking counsel from people who are qualified in these areas, it can make a really big difference to your overall financial journey, as well as potentially saving you money on financial products that you may or may not need. Buying an expensive home. Now, here's the thing. An expensive home comes with expensive bills, whether that's heating, whether it's air conditioning, whether it's property taxes, whether it's mortgage repayments, whether it's council taxes, a plethora of potential pitfalls. And so whilst you might be able to afford the house, can you afford the bills that are going to go along with it? And all these costs can really quickly add up and will eat into your budget every single month. And so what that can ultimately mean is that you don't have a season, you don't have a time of year where you can ease off some of those costs and you've got some kind of a reprieve from them. When it comes to lifestyle inflation, knowing that you've got that big mortgage repayment that you've got to make every single month can be kind of a burden and can be a source of real stress. But I think when you're looking for a home, consider all the associated costs that go along with it and make sure they're going to fit within your budget. That might mean buying even a slightly nicer house in maybe a less desirable part of your town, or it might be buying a house that needs to be done up, using your home as a piggy bank. So this was something that became very prevalent in the financial crisis of 2007-2008. A lot of people had been basically just using the equity in their home, loaning against it, cha-ching, cha-ching, you know, flash boat or something, I don't know, boat, sports car, holidays, and basically just using it to fund their lifestyle. And the problem is, the older you get, the harder and harder it is to then have to repay all that money, because don't forget, it is a loan and you will have to repay it. You are borrowing against the value of your house. And potentially the worst situation of all is if you were to end up in negative equity where you owe more than the value of your house overall. You know, home equity is a valuable asset, but it's not a bottomless pit. Because mortgages are such long financial commitments, you can just end up paying thousands and thousands more in interest than you might have otherwise had to. Now, one of the things they teach you when you become an investment analyst is the difference between money spent and money invested. So I think it's perfectly legitimate if you can get it at a much cheaper rate or a much more competitive rate to use equity from your home to do improvements. Say you want to do a loft conversion, you want to build an extension, that adds value, that adds overall value to your home. But that's not the same as using it to buy a boat. Jet skis, woohoo! Not investing in retirement. Now, I'm going to be kind of more specific here and say not taking advantage of employer match contributions to your pension.
I'm retired.
Your company might match contributions up to, say, 5%. Now, if you're only contributing 2 or 3%, then you're potentially leaving free money on the table. Now, in the UK, pension contributions are tax deductible, so you're leaving double free money on the table because it's money that your company will give you for nothing, but it's also potentially, if you're making additional contributions, then that's deducted from your tax bill. So I think really taking advantage of that, it can be a super tax efficient way to make contributions to your retirement. So how can you avoid this? I think watching this video, good start, improving your financial education, but having a retirement plan, maybe having a financial advisor or a financial planner who understands what your goals are going to be, and just earlier and often. The earlier you can start, the more time you give compound interest to work, the easier it becomes. Nice segue, not having a plan. A financial plan is basically, you know, this is your financial destination and your plan is the route of how you're going to get there. And a financial plan, I would say generally, the bedrock in my view is always a budget. Now, your budget doesn't have to be restrictive, it does have to be informative. You know, your budget can have money in there for going out, for seeing your friends, to do the things you enjoy to do, but within the confines of how much money you make and what your financial destination is going to be. This basically just means you're more informed about your financial decisions, you understand what your net worth is, you understand how you're tracking towards your goals, you understand where your finances are. And so just being more informed about your finances, I think, is actually really empowering. Not living for today. One thing I talk a lot about on this channel is I think the space generally is very scoldy about spending money, about making your own coffee, about this and get rid of your Netflix and don't eat avocado on toast. And I just think that's such nonsense. I think it's perfectly reasonable to want to have nice things, to want to generally improve your life the more financially secure you become. But obviously, becoming more financially secure can be tripped up if you let some of those spending habits get out of control. Ultimately, it's about weighing up the expense versus the utility that you'll get from it. Or maybe it's something that you're buying for someone else. You're buying a gift for someone, you know they're going to enjoy it, it's cost you a bit of money, but it's someone close, someone near and dear, and you're just like, yeah, I can live with that. A good example, I bought my 2-year-old son a load of Hot Wheels cars, and he opened them all up today when they arrived. He loved it. You know, priceless stuff. Analysis paralysis. I think there's no doubt about it that navigating the finance world can be extremely complicated. There's all sorts of jargon that you have to be up to speed with. There are all these kind of what can be quite complicated concepts. And I think as a fallout from the financial crisis in 2007-2008, one of the things that really the curtain was pulled back on was that even the people who thought they knew what they were doing, or who told us they knew what they were doing, didn't really know what they were doing.
They're right, Wall Street.
And so it can be really overwhelming. It's one of the reasons why I started this channel, to try and demystify a lot of this stuff, to try and really educate people about the financial decisions that they're making. But simultaneously, whilst you want to make an informed decision, as we just discussed, it can be very easy to end up in a situation where you make no decision, where you put it off and you put it off and you put it off. You know, you don't know where to invest your pension, how to invest your pension, so you just think, I'll push it, do it later, tomorrow's another day. But this has several key drawbacks. The first is you basically procrastinate on saving money and investing money, which can lead to problems further down the road. And you might even potentially miss out on investment opportunities. Good example of that is something like opening up an ISA. Your ISA allowance in the UK is £20,000 and it resets at the start of every tax year. So if you're in a analysis paralysis situation where you haven't made any contributions in one tax year, ticks over to the next tax year, you've lost that allowance. Not making a budget. It's kind of shocking to me how many people I speak to, or how few people I speak to, actually have a budget. Now, as we always talk about on this channel, your budget doesn't have to account for every dollar, dime, nickel, rupee, ruble, whatever. It just has to provide you with a really rough outline of what your income is, what your expenses are. It's then a really good way to monitor your expenses, to make sure you're not seeing those expenses creep up when you're not expecting them to, and to make sure that you're really not overspending. It's also a really good way, I think, of analysing what your financial priorities are, making sure that you're putting saving and investment for your retirement over and above kind of lavish gifts that you might want to buy yourself. And I think that there's this quote about how a budget is a spending plan, not a spending limit necessarily. Your budget doesn't necessarily have to restrict you. It doesn't have to be a funds-sucking sponge. It can just be something that informs your financial journey, allowing for lifestyle creep. Now, lifestyle creep is a simple concept that we've discussed before on the channel. Basically, your income goes up a bit, your expenses go up a lot. Classic example, you get a pay rise, you're £200 a month better off, and you go out and lease a car and you're £500 a month worse off. Nuts. Crazy stuff. Now, as I said earlier in the video, as you earn more money, it's perfectly reasonable to want nicer stuff, but just make sure that it's stuff that's actually worthwhile, stuff that's going to bring value and utility to your life over the short term and ideally the longer term as well. Wanting to lease a Mercedes? Fine. Good stuff, provided you can afford it, provided it doesn't compromise your overall financial journey. So in this video, we've talked about financial mistakes you'll regret and how to avoid them. Some of the key things you need to be looking out for, how to rectify them. Thanks so much for watching. This is another video from Modern Money Talk, where we talk all things personal finance and personal development related. If you think there's something that we've missed, comment down below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram. Peace out.